Lila sat on the edge of the bed, the morning light filtering softly through the linen curtains. In her hands, she held an old Polaroid photograph, its edges worn and colors faded from the years. The image showed two smiling faces, her own, and that of a young man with kind eyes and an unruly mop of dark hair. Daniel. They had been college sweethearts, brought together by a chance meeting in the stacks of the university library. She was struggling to reach a book on a high shelf when suddenly a warm hand grasped it and brought it down to her. Their eyes met and the connection was instant, electric, undeniable. From that day forward, they were inseparable. Coffee dates in cozy cafes, picnics in the park, late-night walks under star-strewn skies. Daniel studied history while Lila pursued her passion for art, spending countless hours painting in the studio. Often he would sit quietly behind her, content to watch her work, marveling at the way she transformed a blank canvas into something breathtaking. They dreamed of the future, of the life they would build together after graduation. A small house with a garden, where Lila could have a light-filled studio and Daniel would write the books he constantly imagined. 2 or 3 curly-haired children who would grow up surrounded by love and creativity. It was a beautiful dream, perfect in its simplicity. But life, as it so often does, had other plans in store. One chilly October evening, Daniel collapsed suddenly, his body racked by painful spasms. Lila screamed for help as she cradled his shaking form. The diagnosis was devastating, an inoperable brain tumor, hidden until that terrible moment. Treatment could delay the inevitable, the doctors said, but nothing more. Lila's whole world shattered. She threw herself into caring for Daniel, rarely leaving his side. As his body weakened, his mind remained sharp, and they talked for hours, remembering the joyful moments of their past and mourning the future they would never have. He made her promise to keep pursuing her art, to live the full and happy life he wanted for her, even if he couldn't be there to share it. Through her tears, she swore she would. 3 days after his 24th birthday, Daniel slipped away, his hand clasped in Lila's as she whispered words of love and reassurance. For weeks after, she moved through life in a foggy haze, unable to paint, to eat, to do anything but grieve for her lost love. Her parents and friends supported her as best they could, but ultimately, Lila knew she needed to find her own path forward. Slowly, she began to emerge from the depths of her sorrow. She set up her easel by the window and picked up her brushes, losing herself in color and form as she poured her emotions onto the canvas. It was cathartic, a way to express her pain and begin to heal. Daniel's memory was a constant presence, inspiring and guiding her. In time, her work began to garner attention, her raw, evocative pieces speaking to something deep within those who viewed them. Now, 15 years later, Lila was a successful artist, her paintings hanging in renowned galleries around the world. She had kept her promise to Daniel, honoring his love by embracing life and finding joy and purpose through her art. Engaged to a kind, gentle man who made her smile, she knew she had been blessed to find love a second time. Yet her bond with Daniel, brief but profound, still held a singular place in her heart. She gazed at the faded Polaroid, remembering the young man who had loved her so completely. Somewhere, she knew he was smiling that boyish grin, happy that she had made a good life. With a wistful smile, she tucked the photo back into the album on her lap. A child's laughter echoed from the kitchen down the hall, and a moment later, small footsteps pattered towards the bedroom. The door burst open and a little girl raced in, all coppery curls and bright green eyes. "Mommy, look!" She held up a piece of paper, a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures. "It's me and you and Daddy." Lila's heart swelled as she scooped her daughter up and settled her on her lap, arms encircling her tiny frame. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. You're quite the little artist." Her daughter beamed up at her. "I want to be an artist like you when I grow up, Mommy." Lila smiled softly, a bit overwhelmed by the rush of love and gratitude. She thought of Daniel and the love they had shared, both much too briefly. She thought of Michael, the caring man who would soon become her husband, who had opened his heart not only to her but to this child who was her whole world. 2 loves, each precious and irreplaceable. Well then, we'd better get you to the studio. I think there are some little canvases in there with your name on them. Lila kissed the top of her daughter's head. But first, there's someone very special I want to tell you about. As she carried her daughter down the hall, Lila marveled at the extraordinarily beautiful tapestry that was a human life, shot through with both joy and sorrow, triumphs and losses, but made infinitely richer by the threads of love woven through it all. Daniel had been one of her great loves, and she would cherish his memory for all her days. But he had also taught her that a heart has an amazing capacity for love, a beautiful resilience. It was, she had come to realize, both her life's greatest blessing and her most profound responsibility, to honor that capacity, to love as greatly and deeply as she could for however long she was given. Settling cross-legged on the studio floor, Lila pulled out the old photo album and opened it across both their laps. She turned to the first page, to another faded Polaroid of two smiling faces. Once upon a time, she began, in a cozy corner of the university library, there lived a boy named Daniel. Outside the windows, the late summer sun shone down, bathing the studio in warm, golden light, the color of love and memories, of endings and beginnings, of a life both achingly beautiful and beautifully full. Lila smiled and held her daughter a little tighter as she continued the story. As Lila shared Daniel's story with her daughter, the little girl listened with rapt attention, her green eyes wide with wonder. Though the concepts of love and loss were still abstract to her young mind, she sensed the depth of emotion in her mother's voice and instinctively snuggled closer. "He sounds like a prince," the child said softly, tracing Daniel's face in the photograph with a small finger. Lila smiled tenderly. "He was very special, and he would have adored you, my sweet girl, just like I do, more than anything in this world." The little girl tilted her face up towards her mother. "I wish I could have met him." "Me too, love. But you know what? A very wise person once told me that the people we love never truly leave us. They live on in our hearts, in our memories, and in the love we carry forward." Her daughter considered this, her brow furrowed in concentration. "So, it's like he's right here with us, even though we can't see him?" Lila felt tears prick the corners of her eyes even as her heart swelled with affection. "Exactly. He's a part of me, and because you're a part of me too, that means he's with you as well." The little girl smiled, apparently satisfied with this explanation. She turned her attention back to the photo album, flipping carefully through the pages. Lila watched her, marveling at the way her child processed the world with such openness and clarity. Perhaps there were some things that the very young understood far better than the grown. In the years that followed, Lila shared many more stories of Daniel with her daughter, painting a vivid picture of the kind, gentle soul who had loved her so completely. As the little girl grew, so too did her understanding of the different forms love could take and the indelible marks it could leave. Lila's wedding day arrived, a joyous celebration of love and new beginnings. As she stood before the mirror in her bridal gown, she felt a sudden sense of Daniel's presence, as tangible as if he were standing right beside her. Closing her eyes, she could almost hear his voice, feel the warmth of his smile. "I'm so happy for you, Lil," he seemed to whisper. "You deserve every happiness." A knock at the door drew Lila from her reverie. Her daughter peeked in, now an endearingly gawky preteen in a fluffy teal bridesmaid's dress. "Mom, it's almost time. You look so beautiful." Lila turned and held out her arms, drawing the girl into a fierce embrace. "Not nearly as beautiful as you, my darling girl." She drew back slightly and cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "I am so incredibly blessed to be your mom. You are, without a doubt, the very best thing in my life. Never forget that, okay?" Her daughter's eyes sparkled with the uncomplicated joy of a child who knows she is utterly adored. "I love you too, Mom, so much." And she glanced down almost shyly before meeting Lila's eyes again. "I know Daniel would be really happy for you today, too." The tears Lila had been holding back spilled down her cheeks, but they were tears of profound gratitude and love. She drew her daughter close again, marveling at the wisdom and compassion of this extraordinary little soul she got to call her own. "You are absolutely right, sweetheart. He would be over the moon. She straightened, taking a deep breath and blinking away the tears. Now, let's go get married, shall we? Hand in hand, they made their way downstairs and out into the brilliant sunshine of the late summer day. Love had brought Lila both the greatest joys and deepest sorrows of her life. It had broken her heart and mended it, taught her the true meaning of both loss and resilience. It had given her Daniel and the precious years they had shared. And it had given her this day, this chance to once again declare her love and commitment before friends and family. As she walked down the aisle on her father's arm, Lila's eyes found Michael, handsome and beaming in his tailored suit. In his shining eyes, she saw the promise of a lifetime of love and partnership, of shared laughter and tears and late-night conversations and early morning coffee in companionable silence. She saw a future filled with art and books and curly-haired children, the future she and Daniel had once dreamed of, now waiting to be shaped and treasured and lived. At the altar, Lila turned to face Michael, reaching out to clasp his hands in her own. In that moment, she felt her heart expanding, making room for this new love even as the old one remained safely treasured. She thought once more of Daniel and sent a silent thank you out into the universe, for loving her, for teaching her, for showing her the way. And as she spoke her vows, she knew that every step, every brushstroke, every joy and every sorrow of her life had led her to exactly this moment. A lifetime later, an old woman sits in a sunlit studio, a great-grandchild on her knee. She turns the pages of a worn album, each faded Polaroid holding a lifetime of stories. The child points to a photo of two smiling faces, young and radiant with love. "Who's that, Gran?" The woman smiles, her green eyes bright with cherished memories. "That, my darling, is the story of one of my great loves." And it all began in a cozy corner of the university library. And as she begins the tale, the love she has carried her whole life shines as bright as the summer sun.